After you can comfortably perform articulation with the he-t-t method, I think it's important now to go to what we call the onset of sound or the attack-release method, where we actually prepare the air, set the tongue, pressurize the air, and then release the tongue to allow an articulated start to the first note. The onset of sound or the attack-release method of articulation requires a few steps. The steps are important, they're essential, and they need to be followed in this order. I'll go through those and list those on your screen, but the first thing you need to do is to inhale. That's step 1. Step 2 is to form your bassoon embouchure. Step 3 is to bring your tongue, all right, the top of the tip of the tongue, at the tip of the bottom blade of the reed, set that. So again, the first 3 steps: inhale, set the embouchure, bring the tongue and touch it and put it in place on the reed. Okay. Once we do those first 3 steps, then the next step is to pressurize the air. So it's not enough to just inhale. We actually have to pressurize and turn it on and bring the air all the way up to the tip of the reed. That's what we mean when we say pressurize the air. So inhale, set the embouchure, tongue on the reed, pressurize. Now the final step after you've inhaled, set the embouchure, brought the tongue to the reed, and then pressurize the air, the final step is to release the tongue. When you release the tongue, the air goes into the reed, vibrates the reed, and the sound is created. All right? The sound is not created by the tongue slapping the reed. The sound is created by the tongue coming away from the reed, which allows the air to go into the reed. Okay? All those steps again. Inhale. Set the embouchure. Tongue to the reed. Pressurize. And then the last step is to release. All right? Then we have an actual onset of sound created by the tongue coming away from the reed. Now you may ask why this is important. It's essential when you're playing in ensembles. If you're conducting an ensemble and you give a cue to your instrumentalists, you want them to come in at exactly the right time. Now, if they're using an air start, there may be the sound like this, where you hear air and there's a delayed sound where it kind of emerges. When you're playing with a group of others and you're relying on a conductor to have everybody play together, you need a precise entrance from all your instrumentalists. The way to ensure precise entrances is to have a really good onset of sound that's trustworthy, that's reliable, and the best way to do that is with the onset of sound method or the attack release method, which we just demonstrated. Okay? It's going to take a while for you to get comfortable with those steps. You'll think through them. Inhale, embouchure, bring the tongue here, pressurize the air, release. But as you get really comfortable with it, it becomes less about those steps, and it becomes all in one motion, more like this. Okay, say if you have 1 count to breathe in, you can do all of that in a very small amount of time. Maybe you even have less than 1 count. Say we're going like this, 1, 2, 3. All right, I do all of that in that small amount of time. It can be done, and it needs to be done to have a precise entrance of sound when you want it.